Buhya eva mahabaho. Yeah, Bhuya eva mahabaho.
Bhuya eva mahabaho.
Shrunu me paramam vachaham.
Srinumam me paramam vachaha.
Yatte aham priyamanayam.
Yatteham priyamanaya.
Vakshyami hitakamayam.
Vakshyami hitakamaya.
Kamyaya actually. Yeah, Vakshyami hitakamyayam.
Kamya. Vakshyami hitakamyaya.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjun, because you are my dear friend, for your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what already explained, what I've already explained." So Krishna has given a lot of knowledge, right? In chapters 7, 8, and 9. However, now he's saying, okay, let me give you a little bit more. This is a good thing, so that if Arjuna had any remaining doubts, he can get clarification. The word Bhagwan is explained thus by Parasara Muni, one who is full in 6 opulences, who has full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. So these are called the Aishwaryas, 6 Aishwaryas. Bhala, Yashas, Shri, Jnana, last one is Vairagya, and beauty is, there is someone. Yeah, the verse I'm not remembering exactly. So beauty, there is also one term. So when Parasara Muni, he says how to understand God, he says that one has to go through these 6 characteristics. Does this person have full strength? There are a lot of people who are strong, but does he have full strength? Second is full fame. A lot of people are strong, but they are not famous. So they should also be famous. And wealth. At the same time, they should be extremely opulent, wealthy. They should be extremely knowledgeable, extremely beautiful, and extremely renounced. While Krishna was present on this earth, he displayed all 6 opulences. Therefore, great sages like Parasara Muni have all accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Krishna is instructing Arjuna in more confidential knowledge of his opulences. Right? He gave first confidential knowledge in 9, and in 10 he'll give more confidential, and in 11 he'll give most confidential knowledge. Previously, beginning with 7th chapter, Lord explained his different energies and how they are acting. Now in this chapter, he is explaining specific opulences. What is the definition of God? Right? They should have, one should have all these opulences. Only then somebody can be called God, which of course is not possible for ordinary people like us, having all these opulences in full simultaneously. And only God has all these opulences full simultaneously. Again, in this chapter, it says Arjuna about his manifestations and various opulences. The more one hears about Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. That's what's happening to us, right? When we are hearing, we are becoming more fixed. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to win Krishna consciousness. Maybe you can go on mute so that the kids talking will not be recorded.
Okay, Prabhuji, sorry.
Others cannot take place in such discourses, right? So only these discourses can happen in society of devotees. Right now we are able to talk this because we have common interest. Otherwise, generally, if you go and talk this, they'll say, well, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not interested. So discussion about God will happen only in society of devotees. The Lord clearly tells Arjun, because Arjun is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place. Okay, 10:2. Name viduhu Suraganaha
Name Viduhu Suraganaha
Prabhavam
Prabhavam
Na
Na
Maharshaya
Maharshayah
Aham Adir
Aham Adir
Hi Devanam
Hi Devanam
Maharshinam
Maharshinam
Cha Sarvasaham.
Sarvasaha.
Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin and opulences. For in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. So Name Viduhu Suragana. Suragana means Devatas. He's saying Devatas don't know me. Name Viduhu, knowing me. Prabhavam na Maharshaya. Prabhavam means like that I am the origin of everything. The Maharshis don't know. Aham Adir hi Devanam. He's saying why? Because I am the source of the Devatas. How will they know me? They are coming from me. Maharshinam cha sarvasaha. And even the great sages also don't know me. So Krishna is saying it is very difficult to know me. Okay. So Sarvana, can you read the purport here?
Prabhu, he's yet to join the class, Prabhu. It's me.
Okay, you read, Mataji.
Okay. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. No one is greater than him. He is the cause of all causes. It is also stated that it is also stated by the Lord personally that he is the cause of all the demigods and sages. Even the demigods and great sages cannot understand Krishna. They can understand neither his name nor his personality. So what is the position of the so-called scholars of this tiny planet? No one can understand why the Supreme God comes to earth as an ordinary human being and executes such wonderful, uncommon activities. One should know then that scholarship is not the qualification necessary to understand Krishna. Even the demigods and the great sages have tried to understand Krishna by their mental speculation and they have failed to do so. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, also, it is clearly said that even the great demigods are not able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They can speculate to the limits of their imperfect senses and can reach the opposite conclusion of impersonalism of something not manifested by three qualities of material nature, or they can imagine something by mental speculation. But it is not possible to understand Krishna by such foolish speculation. Here, the Lord indirectly says that if anyone wants to know the absolute truth, here I am present as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am the Supreme. One should know this. Although one cannot understand the inconceivable Lord who is personally present, he nonetheless exists. We can actually understand Krishna who is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge simply by studying his words in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The conception of the God as some ruling power or as a Brahman can be reached by persons who are in the inferior energy of the Lord. But the personality of Godhead cannot be conceived unless one is in the transcendental position. Because most men cannot understand Krishna in his actual situation, out of his causeless mercy, he descends to show favor to such speculators. Yet, despite the Supreme Lord's uncommon activities, these speculators, due to contamination in the material energy, still think that the impersonal Brahman is the Supreme. Only the devotees who are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord can understand by the grace of the Supreme Personality that he is Krishna. The devotees of the Lord do not bother about the impersonal Brahman conception of the God. Their faith and devotion bring them to surrender immediately unto the Supreme Lord, and out of the causeless mercy of Krishna, they can understand Krishna. No one else can understand him. So even great sages agree what is Atma, what is the Supreme. It is he whom we have to worship.
Yeah, so basically this verse tries with the previous verse. So Krishna said, What did he say in the previous verse? Let's go back. He said, I will giving you knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. And then he goes on to talk about these devatas and various individuals. All right. So his point is that neither the host of demigods nor great sages know my origin. Devatas don't know me, sages don't know me, because I am the source of both these categories of individuals. And then he goes on to describe, right? Even the demigods and great sages have tried to understand by their mental speculation and failed to do so. Maybe Krishna is like this, maybe Krishna is like this, right? So they have tried various different options, but they could not understand him. Then he's saying, if anyone wants to know the absolute truth, here I am present as the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. I am supreme. Right? So he is boldly declaring that, yes, I am here, but if you don't want to understand me, it is your problem. And then Prabhupada says, because most men cannot understand Krishna in his actual situation, he descends to show favor to such speculators. So Lord comes for many, many reasons, right? One, paritranaya sadhunam, means to take care of the sadhus, vinashaya jadushkrita, to destroy the demons. And then this is one other reason, to show favor, because people cannot understand, they're banging their heads. So he comes down to show who he is. And the most important reason is he comes to give pleasure to his devotees, right? This 1 and 2 he can do from there also. He can show causeless mercy from spiritual world. He can destroy all the demons from the spiritual world through remote control. But the only reason, the primary reason he comes is to actually give pleasure to his devotees. That we will cover later. Yeah. And what happens, even though he comes and he does uncommon activities, these speculators who are contaminated in material energy, means they are under Maya, still think that the impersonal Brahman is the supreme. Only the devotees who are fully surrendered can understand by the grace of Supreme Personality that he is Krishna. Right? So that's the thing. Cannot understand. Devatas cannot understand. And the sages, rishis cannot understand Krishna. Because Krishna himself is saying they cannot. Done. Okay, 10.3. Yomam Ajam Anadim Cham Veti Lokamaheshwaram Asammudha Samartyeshu Sarvapapaihi Pramuchyate
Pramuchyate
Yomamajam Anadim Cham
Yo Mam Ajam Anadim Cha
Veti Lokamaheshwaram
Veti Loka Maheshwaram
Asammudha Samartyeshu
Asumukta Samarteshu
Sarvapapaihi Pramuchyate.
Sarva Papaihi Pramuchyate.
Okay, now he is giving more knowledge about him. He's saying nobody knows me. And now he says, who will understand me? He who knows me as unborn, as beginningless, as Supreme Lord of all worlds. He only undeluded, means delusion means confusion. So he only undeluded among men is freed from all sins. He who knows me as unborn, as the beginningless, as the Supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only undeluded is freed from all the sins. Why? So unless you are sinless, you cannot understand God. So, such a person is freed from all the sins just by understanding Krishna to be unborn, beginningless, and supreme Lord. Right? Just like Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Shodham Sarva Bhutanam Jnatvamam Shantim Rachati. So, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Supreme Lord of all the world, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So, he's saying this again, Krishna is saying again here, I am the Lord of all the worlds. As stated in 7th chapter, Manushyanam Sahasreshu, Kashchit Yatati Siddhaye, those who are trying to elevate themselves to platform of spiritual realization are not ordinary men. They are superior to millions and millions of ordinary men. So you are better than a million people, basically. The 5 people who are on the line are better than a million people. Why? Because they are not even trying. You are trying at least. But out of those actually trying to understand their spiritual situation, one who can come to understand that Krishna is supreme, personality of Godhead, the proprietor of everything, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, the unborn, is most successfully spiritually realized person. Right? So, Ajam Vibhu. Elsewhere, he says, right, Ajam Vibhu. Here he says, Ajam Anadim Cha. So, he uses the term Ajam, unborn, many times because he's not born. He may take like the so-called avatar in material mother and father, but he's not. Right? He's always eternally in the spiritual world. He may just come for a fraction of a second. For us, that looks like a very long time. In that stage, only when one has fully understood Krishna's supreme position, can one be free completely from all sinful reactions. Here the Lord is describing by the word Aja, means unborn, but he is distinct from living entities who are described in the 2nd chapter as Aja. Some living entities are also called as Aja, but he is saying, remember which verse is that? Anybody remember that from 2nd chapter? Ajo nityam shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Anybody remember that line? So we are also Aja. But our Aja and his Aja is different. We are also not born. We just come temporarily and then just vanish. But he, unborn, is very different. The Lord is different from living entities who are taking birth and dying due to material attachment. There you go. So why did you take birth this lifetime? We are so attracted to matter. That's why we took birth. The conditioned souls are changing their bodies. But his body is not changeable. Even when he comes to this material world, he comes as same unborn, Aja. Therefore, it is said, by his internal potency, he is not under the inferior material energy, but is always in the superior energy. So even when the Lord descends, it's not like he's in Maya. Right? He's always in Yoga Maya or in the spiritual energy, even when he descends. So therefore, his Aja and our Aja is different. In the words Vettiloka Maheshwaram indicates one should know that Lord Krishna is the supreme proprietor of the planetary systems. He was existing before creation. He is different from this creation. And all the demigods were created within the material world. As far as Krishna is concerned, it is said he is not created. So, just like if you create a model of the universe and keep it on the table, it's not like you are within the model, right? You created it and you put it on the table. In the same way, the Lord is not within the material creation. He created it, but it is like a little separate from him. Therefore, Krishna is different even from the great devatas or demigods like Brahma and Shiva. And because he is the creator of Brahma, Shiva and other demigods, he is the Vettiloka Maheshwaram. And there in 529 it says, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Here he says, Vetti Loka Maheshwaram. So there's a parallel, similar sentence, right? Vetti means know. So somebody who knows that Krishna is the creator, such a person, Sarva Pape Pramuchyate, means he is delivered from all the sinful reactions. And elsewhere he says, what does Krishna say? If you just know me, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Evam Yo Vetti Tatvataha, Tvyatva Deham Punarjanma, Naiti Mam Yeti Swarjuna. If you just know my birth and activities, you are liberated. Here, Vetti Loka Maheshwaram, if you know that he is the boss of all the universes, you are liberated. And if you know him to be unborn, and that unborn is different than, the soul is also unborn, but our unborn and his unborn are different. That is the thing that we have to understand. Sri Krishna is therefore different from everything that's created, and anyone who knows him as such immediately becomes liberated from all sinful reactions. One must be liberated from sinful reactions to be in the knowledge of Supreme Lord. So first we have to get rid of our papa, then we come to knowledge of Supreme Lord. That's why Prasadam plays a big role. So Prasadam reduces our sin, then we start understanding who Supreme Lord is. Only by devotional service can he be known, and not by any other means. So what is the verse? Only by devotion service. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. That's that verse. Evan yati chasnatha tektva deham. Yeah, something like that. Tektva deham is a different line. But yeah, there is 2 more lines that I'm not remembering right now. But Bhaktyamam abhijanati. How to understand Krishna. And then Prabhupada goes on to say one should not try to understand Krishna as a human being. Then you are understanding him from a different platform, and then you'll make mistakes. Only a foolish person thinks him to be a human being. Expressed in a different way, a man who is not foolish, who is intelligent, Vetti Loka Maheshwaram, enough to understand the constitutional position of Godhead, is always free from all sinful reactions. So if you are able to think Krishna is supreme, means your sin is gone. If you still have doubts, means sin is preventing you from progressing. Like sometimes some people say, but Prabhuji, why is it like that? But Prabhuji, why is like this? That means their sin is not completely destroyed. Whether they are initiated or not doesn't matter. Doubts means there is still some sin preventing. So somebody went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I am unable to chant. So Prabhupada said, which means Yamaraj has a tight grip on you. So we have to loosen that grip by forcing ourselves to chant. If we push ourselves, then gradually Yamaraj will release his grip. Yamadharmaraj will release his grip. Then Prabhupada says, if Krishna is known as son of Devaki, how can he be unborn? When he appeared before Devaki and Vasudeva, he was not born as an ordinary child. He appeared in his original form. Then he goes into two-handed form. No, actually, he comes as two-handed, then he goes into four-handed, then he comes into back into two-handed, and then a small baby, and then he becomes like an ordinary child. Right? So he was not born as ordinary child. Devaki didn't carry him for 9 months. He just comes, he becomes a baby right in front of their eyes. That's it. Anything done, that's there in the Krishna book. Anything done under the direction of Krishna is transcendental. So, if Krishna is doing it, it is transcendental. It is not material. It cannot be contaminated by material reactions, which may be auspicious or inauspicious. So, this other verse that we read a few weeks ago, Shubha, Ashubha Phaler, right? In 7th chapter or 8th, yeah, 7th chapter, I believe. Late 7th chapter. Shubha, Ashubha Phaler. That verse is there. So Prabhupada is not saying anything new. He's just reminding us of all those verses. So we get convinced, right? So it doesn't, Krishna's activities are not contaminated. So you cannot be counted as this is Shubha and this is Ashubha. Everything Krishna does is transcendental, Trigunatita. The conception that there are things auspicious and inauspicious in material world is more or less a mental concoction, because there is nothing auspicious in the material world, right? So, this is auspicious, that is inauspicious. Actually, everything is inauspicious. We have to get out of here as soon as possible. Everything is inauspicious because the very material nature itself is inauspicious. That is the key point to know. So, it is not possible to create something pure out of impure. We simply imagine it to be. We'll say, okay, now we have taken bath. Now everything is pure. Now I will sit down and recite mantras. Of course, you have to take bath so that you feel good, but everything in the material world is still inauspicious. Real auspiciousness is what? Depends on activities in Krishna consciousness in full devotion and service. Bhaktya mam avijanati yavan yati chatastataha. Such directions are given in authoritative scriptures or from a bona fide spiritual master. Because spiritual master is representative of Supreme Lord. So how do we know this? There is also a verse in the Shastra. Sakshat dharitvena samasta shastre yuktastatha bhavyata eva sadbhi Kintu prabhurya priya vatasya Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam. So this is what we are supposed to sing in the morning. If you wake up, first of all. Most of us don't even wake up. Because spiritual master is representative of Supreme Lord, his direction is directly the direction of Supreme Lord. The spiritual master, saintly persons and scriptures direct us in the same way. There is no contradiction in these sources. So, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra should say the same thing. They should not say different things. All actions done under such direction are free from reactions of pious and impious activities. Shubha Ashubhar Falayar. That is, that verse is again quoted here. The transcendental attitude of devotee in performance of activities is actually that of renunciation. So the attitude should be that of renunciation. You may be a family person, but attitude should be that of renunciation. This is not mine. Everything belongs to Krishna. That should be the attitude. And if you work in that attitude, you will become purified faster. As stated in the first verse of the 6th chapter, one who acts as a matter of duty because he has been ordered to do so by Supreme Lord and who does not seek shelter, anashrita karma phalam. Ashrita means taking shelter. Karma phalam means results. Anashrita karma phalam. So when you're doing karma, you get results, but you give away the results for the service of Krishna. Such a person is a true renouncer. Very, very important point for all of us Grihasthas, right? Every month we are buying more and more things and adding to our house. So our house starts to look like a museum. Everything is there. So we should not take shelter, according to Srila Prabhupada, in the fruits of the activities. Anashrita. We are doing ashrita karma phalam. We should be anashrita karma phalam. Anyone acting under the direction of Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi and a yogi. Actually, most of the things that we buy, they become junk in a year or so. They'll go to garage first and then they'll go to Goodwill next. So we are actually wasting a lot of money by buying things. All of those things become junk very soon. That is the reality. So just by taking a dress of a sannyasi, that doesn't work. Krishna says we have to have that transcendental attitude in performance of activities. And that's called sannyasa yoga. Okay, any questions on this one? Okay, next one. Okay, buddhir
Buddhir
jnanam
Jnanam
asammoham
Asammoha
kshamam
Shama
satyam
Satyam
damaham
Damaha Damaham
sukham
Sukham
dukham
Dukkam
bhavo
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 bhayam
Bhayam
chabhyam
Chabhyam
evacha
Evacha
buddhir jnanam asammoham
Buddhir Jnanam Asammoha
Shama Satya Dhamma Shama, sorry, Shama Satya Dhamma Sama
Shama Satyam Dama Sama
Sukha Dukkha Bhavo Bhavo
Sukha Dukkha Bhava Bhavo
Bhayam Chabhyameva Cha
Bhayam Cha Bhayam Evacha
Ahimsa Samata Tustis
Ahimsa Samata Tustis
Tapodana Yasho Yashaham
Tapodanam Yaso Yashaha
Bhavanti Bhava Bhutana
Bhavanti Bhava Bhutana
Matta Eva Pritigvidhi Vidhi.
Matta Eva Pratikviti.
So it's a pretty long verse. Krishna is giving some qualities to understand him. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone, Krishna says. The different qualities of living entities, be they good or bad, are all created by Krishna. Our qualities come from Krishna. Whatever, like buddhir, jnanam, intelligence, knowledge, asammoha, freedom from doubt, kshama, forgiveness, satyam, truthfulness, dhamma, control over senses, sama, control over mind. All these qualities are coming from Krishna. Intelligence refers to power to analyze things. Knowledge refers to understanding what is spirit and matter. Ordinary knowledge obtained by university program pertains only to matter, and it is not accepted here as knowledge. That's why Srila Prabhupada calls university education a slaughterhouse education, because it slaughters the soul and it prevents us from going to the spiritual world. Knowledge means knowing the distinction between spirit and matter. In modern education, there is no knowledge about spirit. They're simply taking care of material elements and bodily needs. So metal elements, here is iron, copper, silver, gold, platinum, radioactive materials. Just talking about matter, that's it, nothing more. And bodily needs, nice soap, Dove soap, Head and Shoulders shampoo, so many different kinds of scents and perfumes. All these are bodily needs. Therefore, he says academic knowledge is not complete because it does not give you anything beyond bodily needs and anything beyond material elements. Prabhupada says freedom from doubt and delusion or sammoha can be achieved when one is not hesitant and when he understands the transcendental philosophy. Right? He's not hesitating. Oh, is this like this? Is it like this? He understands transcendental philosophy. And then that philosophy will give you freedom from doubt and delusion. Slowly but surely becomes free from bewilderment. Nothing should be accepted blindly. Everything should be accepted with care and with caution. Kshama, tolerance and forgiveness should be practiced. One should be tolerant and excuse minor offenses of others. Okay, if somebody comes and says something bad, right? Okay, I'll tolerate, I'll forgive. If they continue to do major offenses, then you avoid them fully. Ignore them basically. Don't fight with them. That seems to be the message. Satyam, truthfulness means the facts should be presented as they are for the benefit of others. Priyam uvacha, Satyam uvacha, Priyam uvacha means say it truthfully, say it nicely. Priyam means with love. Facts should not be misrepresented. According to social conventions, it is said that one can speak the truth only when it is palatable to others. But that's not truthfulness. So don't say things that other person wants to hear. Like for example, I went to Microsoft, right? In the training, they said empathy. Empathy means do things that the other fellow wants. Now that is not good because you are doing other things. If the other fellow wants to about their baby, you're saying, yeah, good. That is not good. That's bad. Or if the other fellow wants to eat meat, you're saying, good. Let's order this thing, meat dish. But that is not actually helping the other person, right? So people usually say, oh, we want to be palatable to others. If a man is a thief and people are warned that he's a thief, that is truth. Although sometimes truth is unpalatable, means it is not. Palat means your tongue. Unpalatable means something that is not tasty. So if the truth is not tasty, one should not refrain from speaking it. Refrain means one should not stop from speaking it. They should still say it, the truth as it is. If it's a pig, you say it is a pig. Don't call it a lion. Truthfulness demands that facts be presented as they are for benefit of others. So thus others can benefit and progress in their spiritual life. Control of senses means senses should not be used for unnecessary personal enjoyment. Actually, animals don't do this, right? Animals eat only when they need to, and they only have sex when they need to, in that period where they can have babies like that, right? Whereas human beings eat 24/7, sex whenever possible, in public, in private, everywhere, right? Because they are not controlling their senses. There's no prohibition against meeting the proper needs of senses. See, there's no prohibition. It's not like you should just shut out all your senses. But unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental for spiritual advancement. So Krishna also says, just like a tortoise, when the limbs are unnecessary, it will pull the limbs under the hard shell and protect itself. Only when necessary, it will get the limbs out, the four arms and the rear legs, like that. The two arms come out in the front and legs come out in the back. Only when necessary. In the same way, unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental for spiritual advancement. So a lot of people say, Prabhuji, I am not progressing, which means you have not given up sense gratification, right? On one side, you are, trying to stop the fire. Okay. On the other side, by covering, when you are trying to stop the fire by covering it with some metal piece or something. Other side, you are pouring petrol. What will happen? The fire will continue to blaze. So, unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental, means it is damaging and it is very bad for your spiritual advancement. Therefore, the senses should be restrained from unnecessary use. Similarly, one should restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. Right? So many thoughts will come. You just shut it out. Because what happens if you don't shut it out? Mind will start dwelling on those thoughts. And 2.62, what does it say? Dhyayato vishya pumsha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama. So,
Oh,
what will happen?
yes,
Kama, desires.
yes,
Yeah, desires will come. Kama krodha vijaya. Then you will not.
రైస్ లేకనే ఎట్లా తింటువ్వు ఆ కుట్టి
Okay,
రైస్
somebody go on mute. I can see some other conversation going on.
టార్టియా ఉంది టార్టియా కార్చి వేసి తింటువా అంటే రైస్ తోటి కానీ
Yeah, whoever is talking, can you go on mute, please?
రెండు సబ్జీ పెట్టిందనే
Somebody is cooking sabji there. Can you go on mute, please? Yeah. So we should restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. That is called sama. Otherwise, if you don't restrain, what will happen? Your focus will dwell upon that thought, and then you will basically become a victim of that thought. You'll basically fall for that thought. One should not spend one's time pondering over earning money. That is a misuse of thinking power. Unless, of course, you want to earn a lot of money and give donations to do varnashrama communities, temples, like that. That pondering is not really pondering over earning money. That's pondering is service. Because you are clearly saying, I will use this money for serving Krishna. The mind should be used to understand the prime necessity. Our prime necessity is how to go back to Godhead. Everything else is secondary. How to buy a second flat, how to buy a third car, all these things are secondary. Our prime necessity is how to go back to Godhead. The power of thought should be developed in association with persons who are authorities in scriptures. So if you hang around with people who know the scriptures very well and they're practicing it, then your thought will also become strong. If you associate with somebody who's weaker than you, then both of you will fall in the ditch. So you should always associate with somebody who's higher. Sukham should always be, which is favorable for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. Right? You can have sukham by going in a cruise ship, or you can have sukham by sitting in a class and learning Bhagavad Gita. So the second sukham is better than the first sukham. Or you can have sukham by participating in kirtan and you'll be very happy. That is also, happiness is not bad. But it should be favorable to cultivation of spiritual knowledge. Similarly, that which is painful or causes distress is that which is unfavorable. Right? If it's painful or causing distress, then give it up. Like people drink alcohol. Basically, they're burning their esophagus and their intestines. So it's actually causing distress, but they still like to do it because they don't know what else to do in life. Anything favorable for development of Krishna consciousness should be accepted. Anything unfavorable should be rejected. So Srila Prabhupada is quoting here. What verse is he quoting? Anukulyasya. What's the next line? Next verse. Word. Anukulyasya dash. Anukulyasya sankalpa. Pratikulyasya dash. What is dash? Varjanam. Anything that is unfavorable, you give it up. Anukulyasya. Anything favorable, you take it. Anything unfavorable, you give it up. Bhava, birth should be understood to refer to the body. As far as soul is concerned, there is neither birth nor death. Birth and death applies to one's embodiment. In the material world, you need a body, right? So when you have a body, that is called birth. When your body goes away or is like too weak to support you, that's called death. So we should understand that birth is only to the body. Otherwise, we are Aja. Krishna is also Aja, but a different category of Aja. Why are we fearful? Due to worrying about the future. Krishna consciousness means no fear, because he's sure to go back to spiritual sky, back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, future is very bright. Others do not know what their futures hold. They can become an animal, a donkey, a dog, who knows. So therefore, such people should be in anxiety. As devotees, we should be free from anxiety. So sometimes you'll see devotees are very poor. Devotees go through a lot of problems, but that's okay. It's better to go to the problems now than go to the problems later. Just finish it off. Best course is to understand Krishna and be situated in Krishna consciousness. In this way, we will be free from fear. Bhayam dvitiya bhiveneshata syat. Fear is caused by our absorption in illusory energy. Oh, what will happen? Trump will cancel H1B. He will not give green card. Okay, if you don't get green card, you will get some other pink card. Pink card is go back to Godhead. What will you do with green card once you have pink card? You can leave the green card here only. Right? But those who are free from illusory energy, those who are confident that they are not the material body, that they are spiritual parts of Supreme Personality, and who are therefore engaged in transcendental service, have nothing to fear. Right? So like Harulash Prabhu, Raswati Mataji, have you ever seen that? They are fearing anything? No, they're always planning for the next service. That's it. No fear. Oh, okay. What will happen? Oh, who knows what will happen? Who cares what will happen? Just let me do our service. Transcendental service. Just keep on serving the Lord. If things work out, they work out. They don't work out, doesn't matter. We'll keep serving. Their future is very bright. This fear is a condition of persons who are not in Krishna consciousness. This is a very bold statement, very difficult statement for us to digest. Because we all have fear, which means we are not in Krishna consciousness. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Oh, very big statement. Abhayam. Bhayam means fear. Abhayam means fearlessness. It's only possible if you are Krishna conscious. Lot of information. This purport is packed with information. Ahimsa means one should not do anything that will put others into misery or confusion. Material activities that are promised by politicians, sociologists, philanthropists. Philanthropists means they'll say, okay, yeah, we have to feed the poor, we have to build hospitals for them, right? They do not produce very good results because they don't have transcendental vision. They don't have the vision of the soul and liberation and service to Lord. So they're thinking, okay, yes, we have to do these material activities. And again, they don't do the material activities fully. Half of it goes into their own pocket. Philanthropy, they'll say, oh, I'm doing philanthropy, half of it will go into their own pocket. And so that means people should be trained in such a way that the full utilization of human body can be achieved. Which is Krishna consciousness basically, because body is meant for spiritual realization. And so many movements or commissions like communism or 5-year planning commission, which do not further to that end, actually they commit violence. So all these material plans of the governments are actually violence on us because they are not helping us to get liberated. They are helping them to keep us here in the material world. so that we can work like donkeys for them. That which furthers the future spiritual happiness of people is non-violence, right? So if you want to do non-violence, then you have to support Krishna consciousness activities, like with your money, with your time, with your intelligence. By doing so, at least if one person can benefit by your sacrifice, that's it. Your life is set. You don't have to save the whole world. It's not possible also. So what you should do, at least one person, you should save their life, get them out of the illusion and make them into a good devotee. At least one. Samatha, equanimity, refers to freedom from attachment and aversion, right? Some things we like, we are attached. Some things we don't like, we are averse. I don't want to do that. Right? One devotee, he didn't like to cut cilantro. So you know what devotees did? Okay, now from tomorrow you will cut cilantro. You don't like it, right? Now you have to do it. Because you have aversion. Okay, now you do it. Why are you averse to it? What is the root cause? Figure it out. To be very much attached or to be very much detached is not best. Sometimes people say, I am the most fallen servant, Prabhu. What is most fallen servant? You are trying to be artificially humble. There's nothing like that. No definition. You are a servant or you are not a servant. Like one Prabhu came and said, yes, Prabhu, I am your servant. Okay, Prabhu, can you do this? Yes, yes. And after that, I never heard him. He vanished into thin air. Right? So people don't want to do service. That is the nature, crooked nature of the human mind. That which is favorable should be accepted. That which is unfavorable should be rejected. Again, Prabhupada is saying the same thing. What is that? Anukulyasya sankalpam pratikulyasya varjanam. Rakshato iti viswaso means I have vishwas, faith that Krishna will give me full protection. Krishna consciousness, you should not reject anything and not accept anything except its usefulness in the persecution of Krishna consciousness. If somebody gives you a laptop, you should not reject it, you should not accept it. Accept that, okay, I will use this laptop in service of Krishna. I'll do some presentations for, preaching Krishna consciousness. That's it. Who are you to accept or reject anything, right? Sometimes people are artificially humble. No, Prabhuji, this is impediment in my Krishna consciousness. Excessively humble, not necessary. Or too quick to accept. Yes, this is great. Now I can watch some videos. That is also not good, right? As long as you're serving Krishna, it is good. If you're not serving Krishna, it is useless. Just keep it in a closet and shut it down. Tushti, satisfaction, means one should not be eager to gather more and more material goods by unnecessary activity, which applies to all of us. All IT professionals do this. They make more money than the average. I was reading an article today, right? For the last 10 years, actually last 20 years overall, but last 10 years since the last crash, majority, like 50+% of Americans, their incomes did not rise. Their incomes rose by like 2 cents in the last 10 years. 2 cents an hour. Whereas some people got very rich. We are included in that, some people, because of our IT knowledge. We work for top corporations. So we became way richer than the average guy, because average guy is what? Lives in a home which is less than $199,000 in cost. Cost of the home is less than $199,000. They make somewhere between $24,000 and $36,000 a year. That is the average of America, right? So we are much, much wealthy compared to those guys, right? So we are very too eager to accept all these material goods So it says one should be satisfied with whatever is obtained by grace of Supreme Lord. That is called satisfaction. Tapas means austerity or penance. There are many rules and regulations in Vedas which apply here, like rising early, taking a bath. That is also tapasya, which we fail. In general, all Seattle devotees fail at this. Very few people wake up early and come to Mangalarti. The voluntary trouble we may suffer is called penance. Fasting, I think we are all good at it. Seattle devotees are very good. Everybody fasts. Oh, you have to fast tomorrow? Okay, excellent. I'll start now itself. So we are all very good at fasting for whatever reason. So we should accept bodily troubles. Okay. However, one should not fast unnecessarily. Oh, okay, fasting is good, so I'll fast every day. That is not necessary, right? Body will become weak. Fast only on spiritual days. And not fasting on political purpose like Gandhi did, right? That is not necessary. That is actually, it is just politics, that's it. So there is fasting in goodness, fasting in passion, fasting in ignorance. And then there is fasting in transcendental platform. So yeah, so fasting in ignorance or anything done in ignorance, just like Hiranyakashipu also fasted. But that's not useful, fasting. Everything done in the mode of goodness advances one. Fasting done in terms of Vedic injunctions enriches one in spiritual knowledge. You see, somebody asked me this question. Jaypal asked, of course, he's not in the class right now. Jaypal, are you there? No. Why should we fast? Yeah, fasting done in terms of Vedic injunction enriches one in spiritual knowledge. What is the connection? We don't know. But when you fast, your knowledge base goes up. Paramatma in the heart will reveal things to you. Aha. How many of us do this? As far as charity is concerned, one should give 50% of earnings to some good cause. Good cause is something that is done in terms of Krishna consciousness, which means taking souls out of the material world and sending them to spiritual world. Okay, so let's do some survey. How many people are doing this 50%? You can come off mute. How many people are doing 40%? 30%? 20%? 10%? 5%? Yeah, so which means we have a way to go. You may say, oh yeah, I have taxes to pay and all that. Yeah, after tax income. Live in 50% means then you cannot live in the big house that you live in right now. It has to be downsizing. So we all have to downsize at some point, or at least stop upsizing. Because the moment you upsize, like this past winter, all the people in these big buildings like Highcroft, they had to spend $500 a month electricity bill because it was very cold, right? To heat up such a big home takes more money. For me, it takes $200. But if you live in a bigger home, it will be more. If you live in a one-bedroom apartment, you'll only pay like $70 per month. So we have created our own mess. We cannot blame Obama or Trump. We created our own mess by going and living in big homes. Okay, any thoughts there? Let's open up for some conversation. Who wants to go first? Srijana, you want to go? Is anybody on the call left?
I'm here, Prabhuji. Radha Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead, Radha Mataji.
Okay. As far as charity is concerned, one should give 50% of his earning to some good cause. And what is a good cause? It is that which is conduced in terms of Krishna consciousness. That is not only a good cause, but the best cause Because Krishna is good, his cause is also good. Thus, charity should be given to a person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness. According to the Vedic literature, it is enjoined that charity should be given to the Brahmanas. This practice is still followed, although not very nicely in terms of the Vedic injunction. But still, the injunction is that charity should be given to the Brahmanas. Why? Because they are engaged in higher cultivation of spiritual knowledge. A Brahmana is supposed to devote his whole life to understanding Brahman. Brahma Janatiti
Brahman.
Brahman.
Hmm.
One who knows Brahman is called a Brahmana. Thus, charity is offered to the Brahmanas because they are always engaged in higher spiritual service and have no time to earn their livelihood. In the Vedic culture, charity is also to be awarded to one in renounced order of life, the sannyasi. The sannyasi beg from door to door not for money but for a missionary purpose. The system is that they go from door to door to awaken the householders from the slumber of ignorance, because the householder are engaged in
Affairs.
family affairs and have forgotten their actual purpose in life. Awakening their Krishna consciousness, it is the business of sannyasis to go as beggars to the householders and encourage them to be Krishna consciousness. As it is said in the Vedas, one should awake and achieve what is due him in his human form of life. This knowledge and method is distributed by the sannyasis. Hence, charity to be given to the renouncers of life, to the brahmanas, and similar good causes, not to any whimsical cause.
So, did you have a question on that one, Radha Mataji?
It's in, yeah, Prabhuji, in India, the beggars come to door, but here it is not. But the general gist of it, we could understand why they are saying that.
Yeah. I mean, again, a beggar, they are professional beggars, right? Like I went to Hyderabad, somebody came to my car door, so I was giving some money. And then my sister said, no, these are all professional beggars. They collect somewhere between 500 to 1,000 rupees every day, and then there'll be one gang lord. They'll take commission from them. So, yeah, those are not the people that we need to support. We need to support people who are awakening householders from their slumber of ignorance, right? So when the sannyasis come, what do? They give spiritual knowledge. So giving them these donations or offerings. And when you give, what happens? What will they do? They are anyhow a sannyasi. Anyhow, you are feeding them. What will they do? They'll use that to do other spiritual activities. Like, my spiritual master, when he comes, we give him dakshina, right? So immediately he'll give it to these varnashrama communities. He says, okay, now Srila Prabhupada wanted these communities, so you do these varnashrama communities. How do I know? Because, he has given me to be deposited in that varnashrama account, right? So I personally know that whenever he gets a dakshina, he collects all of that, and then he asks me to deposit them in the account, and then I disperse that to various varnashrama projects, right? So just like in India, he has one treasurer. In America, I am the treasurer for him. Treasurer means what? Like basically somebody who goes to the bank and deposits and then writes a check or money order or whatever, right? So I do that service for him in North America. So we should give our offerings to such sannyasis who are waking up people, the souls, from their deep sleep, right? They will not waste that money. Anywhere else it gets wasted, right? We hear so many charities misusing funds. We see in the news almost every day. Because whenever people don't have this higher concept of life, the spirituality, they think, yeah, what's wrong if I take a little bit from this amount, like that, right? They don't have that higher concept. But so we should, we should essentially give it to somebody who is awakening people from the slumber of ignorance, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, and all of you are doing it in some shape or form. You have to do it a little bit more for your own interest, right? When you do that, what will happen? What did Krishna say here? We should not be eager to gather more and more material goods and unnecessary activity. Yeah. Now, what is unnecessary? It depends on the situation, right? In Samamish, if you don't have a car, you cannot even go and buy groceries, right? So, unless you are prepared to walk for like half an hour to Safeway on this side or QFC on the other side, or you're staying close to there, like in the Madison apartments where you have walking distance. There are some people in Madison, they just walk, get their groceries, take the bus to go to work downtown, come back. They don't even have a car, right? So it depends on what is necessary, what is unnecessary. It depends on the situation perfectly. In some cities, like in Frankfurt, Germany, train system is so good, you don't even need a car. So people don't buy cars there, right? So it all depends on that situation. But if in general, if you're a materialist, you like to accumulate. If you're a spiritualist, you try to use those items in Krishna's service, right? Even when you buy them, you use them in Krishna's service, right? There are some devotees who have big homes. They're constantly hosting programs, right? They'll host programs whenever some Maharaj comes, some sannyasi comes. They call other people. Like Saravanan called Keshavananda Prabhu for breakfast one day. Jaipal hosted Keshavananda Prabhu at his home. I hosted my Guru Maharaj at my home. Like that, right? There are some examples like that on how we can use our material collections. But if you only host somebody for 3 days a year and then 362 days, you are enjoying that place, not for Krishna but for yourself, then there is something wrong also. So we have to use it for service of Krishna on a fairly regular basis. Then it becomes spiritual. Otherwise, it will remain material, basically. Right? So one way is like live simply, save money, and then use that in Krishna's service. There's so many ways to do it, right? Worldwide, there are so many projects that are Krishna projects. If you don't know how to use the money, tell me. I have at least 20 projects waiting around the world, including Seattle, where money can be used, right? But the thing is, how will you save money if you're always spending it off on, whatever you get, you keep on spending. Like one year you have excess money, you go to India, $10,000 gap, one shot, right? 2 years later, you save money and then you buy a new car. So if you keep on spending like that, then you will not have any money for spiritual purposes. So there has to be some amount of control, sense control, dhamma, sama, dhamma, right? We studied that in the last verse. You should have some kind of sense control. Maybe this is useless, waste of money, right? I see Sarvana, he's wearing the same jacket since I know him. He doesn't waste money. Like, he didn't really buy 10 jackets or something like that, which is a good sign, right? There's some people know how to do it. There's also art, right, on how to utilize money and how to utilize money for Krishna's service, right? If you buy all expensive stuff, money will go away. So, and when you take voluntary trouble, that is called a penance. That's what it says, right? Whatever voluntary trouble one may suffer in this way is called a penance. And what happens when we do these penances? The last line of this verse, paragraph I mean, fasting done in terms of Vedic injunction enriches one in spiritual knowledge. Fasting doesn't mean stopping eating. Fasting is also buying less shirts, less pants, buying less utensils in the kitchen, Of course, we bought so many utensils in the kitchen over the last 15 years since we moved into this house. Yeah, so we have to control ourselves. Fasting is for everything. Fasting is also for, like, if wife and husband are there. Fasting is also sexual fasting, right? So not having too much sex. That is also one type of fasting. Not watching too many movies. That is one type of fasting. Right? There's so many things. Fasting, for ISKCON Seattle devotees, fasting means, Prabhu, when is Ekadasi? Okay, I'll fast that day. The other days, I'll eat 4 times as much. Or I'll watch 4 movies, but on Ekadasi, I will not even watch 1 movie. That is fasting. Yeah, so fasting has to be consistent also, right? If you are consistent, then results will be there. Because ultimately, what is the Prabhupada saying here? Fasting will do us what? It enriches us in spiritual knowledge. It gives us more gyan, fasting, right? So we should, yeah, there's so much to do. So much to do. Any other questions? I know one devotee, they used to be here, they moved to Austin. The wife was like, no, whenever husband came very close to her, wife said, no, this is not necessary. This act of having sex is not necessary according to the Bhagavad Gita. So she would make the husband fast a lot, right? So from that perspective, also from the food perspective, she's very elevated, of course. I cannot even talk about her because she's way too elevated compared to me. Like that. So there's so many things people do. And even though her husband was a senior director, they never bought a home. They lived in a very small apartment. Senior director at Microsoft means they make good amount of money, close to 200,000 a year, right? But they never bought a home. Very small apartment they lived here. And even after they moved to Austin, very, very simple living. And using that money for Krishna's service. Just like that. Any other questions? Everybody hearing me or everybody doze off? Or leave the call? No, there's 6 people on the call. Any other question? Anybody else?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. Did you get your answer, Radha Mataji? I don't know if you got the answer.
Yes, Prabhuji. Here, people don't come to doorsteps like a beggars, but like Harivilas Prabhu is doing a service, and he's so when we donate it to the temple or when it goes to the
I'm coming to you, Mataji. I'm coming to you like a beggar. Whatever you have, give. We have 20 projects worldwide. We can use that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That like that we can.
Exactly. Yeah. Here you have. This is called transcendental beggar. Who wrote this book? Indrajit Swami. I think he wrote a book. The title of the book is called Transcendental Beggar. He said, yes, we are also beggars, but we are begging you to do 2 things. Support Krishna conscious activities through your finance and take up to chanting. So we are begging you to do these 2 things. Right? We are transcendental beggars. We are not ordinary beggars because a devotee of Krishna is never poor actually. Right? So we don't need to ask for our personal maintenance. Krishna is already taking care of that. But we are begging so that other souls can benefit themselves, right? How they can give their excess funds in Krishna's service. That way they're reducing attachment. And part 2 is we are begging them to take up to Krishna consciousness, chant Hare Krishna. Like Harivilas Prabhu says in his classes, right? Yes, go and eat prasadam. There's also begging. He's begging, but for whose benefit is he begging? For the visitor's benefit, right? Yeah, this is a different kind of begging. We have reached, as a movement, Hare Krishna movement, we have reached a point where we can accelerate very fast. In every city, they have gone beyond the first temple, building the second temple, third temple, like that. Farm communities are opening up everywhere. Like one of the Prabhupada's disciple, I met him when I went to Shravanam Kirtanam camp by my Guru Maharaj in Charlotte last July. Myself and my wife went there. July or September, I don't remember exactly. Yes, September, I think. So one of my Guru Maharaj's god brother, who is Prabhupada's disciple, he said that he bought a 134-acre farm in Tennessee. So he's going to do a big farm community project there. Yeah, so many things are happening. Best thing is to go and live on a farm, but most of us are honestly totally incapable of doing that. Our bodily structure really is so bad that we'll faint by day 3 trying to do any farm work. Basically, by day 3 we'll be finished. So for us, our service is giving the Lakshmi. Lakshmi means money, right? There are other categories of people, brahmacharis, able-bodied, strong young boys who can actually work on the farm. But our service is more like serving through money, right? But to serve through money, you have to, learn the art of living simply. If you live simply, then you'll save money. Then whatever is saved, then you give, right? During Prabhupada's time, there was one disciple of Prabhupada, Jayananda Prabhu. He was sick, right? Doctor said, you have cancer, you're going to die unless you take treatment. So Jayananda Prabhu was a taxi driver. He would drive taxi, collect the money, and he said, I can die. That's okay. But the money should be used to build a Ratha cart. So he established the first Ratha Yatra in San Francisco in the 1970s. And then he died. Then Prabhupada said, okay, every Ratha Yatra that happens going forward, we should have Jayananda Prabhu's picture, right? He built the first Ratha cart with his own hands. So even in Seattle, when we do Ratha Yatra, we put Jayananda Prabhu's picture. It's like that, right? Now, the sacrifice that he has done is noted. Okay, any other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Aarti,
Yeah.
Also, they nowadays they say like in the orphanages, they are really suffering. So we need to give some charity to help them and all that. Children are just left off.
Yeah. So the charity that you do
those
with
kind of-
orphanages is twofold, right?
Mhm.
First thing is
Okay, Prabhuji.
you should cook prasadam and feed them so that they'll get spiritual food, not material food. Because in most of the orphanages in America, what are they feeding? They're feeding beef. So that these people are getting more bad karma. So the next lifetime also they'll be orphans, right? So you have to first give them prasadam so that they get purified. And second, then you have to give them spiritual knowledge. Like one of my god brothers in Sri Lanka, Vasudeva Datta Prabhu, he came here 8 years ago and so on. He showed a video on Sri Lanka orphanages. So in Sri Lanka, after the Sinhalese and Tamil battles, lot of kids became orphans because all the parents killed each other. So he went there, he started that, and then he gave them prasadam, and then he taught them Bhagavad Gita. So it is possible. You can do so many wonderful things. So everybody is an orphan, right? You and I are also orphans. How are we orphans? Can you tell me? We are also orphans. How? Because we left our father Krishna, right? So we are also orphans. So what is the best way to serve the orphans? By giving them prasadam, right? And then giving them spiritual knowledge. So our devotees are doing variety of things. They go to jails Like Sridhar Sham Prabhu in Dallas, he goes to a jail. He has been going for like 4 or 5 years, giving them Bhagavad Gita knowledge, giving them pracharam. Yeah, you can do so many wonderful things. But for that, we have to be strong ourselves, right? If we ourselves are weak, then we'll not be able to do that service properly. Technically, who amongst us is going to an orphanage and feeding anybody? None of us is doing it, although we know the philosophy, right? So, yeah, first we have to get strong ourselves. Once we get strong, then we will be able to do those things. Actually, you can go to Seattle jail, downtown jail, and then feed the prasadam to the prisoners. They'll be too happy. They get the same food 365 days a year. If you cook nice pakodas, samosas, offer it to Krishna and take and give it to them, they'll be very happy with you. Or you can go to orphanage, and there are so many in Seattle area also. Once a week you can feed them. Harulas Prabhu is already doing, right? The whole idea of food truck is what? Anybody who is hungry, will give them food, free prasadam. Of course, not all of them are orphans, but some of them are orphans. Some of them are homeless. They come and tell me, yes, this is how I became homeless. I lost my job. Then my wife, kind of left me. Then I could not pay the rent. I lost my apartment. Now all I have is like this little bag with some stuff in there, and then I just sleep wherever I can. Right? So we are giving them prasadam better than giving them some, canned beef or some bad food, which will only keep their karma, negative karma even goes down, right? So they will again, in the next life, be even more lower situation. So we have to elevate them consciousness-wise. That's the idea. Okay, we'll stop there. Let's chant. Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Shri Advaita,
Shri Advaita,
Gadadhara,
Gadadhara,
Srivasadi,
Srivasadi,
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Now let's chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,